Hi, Jace here. Get this microphone out of my face. How's everybody doing? Well, I hope. So, tonight I'm going to proceed with a continuation of videos that I'm doing on pieces of music of mine that are in the midst of the creative process. And this one in particular is kind of special to me. I've got a whole bunch of new releases that I'm getting finished, and I'm thinking about some things. And I'm thinking about this challenging idea of releasing a track of music every week in 2021. That would be quite a feat, especially when you consider that just like this piece I'm going to share with you tonight, and it's only a few bars, there's a lot involved. I mean, you're taking an idea from a splurge, just a blah, coming out with a fresh idea all the way through the compositional process, through the editing process, through many other different processes, all the way through a mix and a master, which I'm handling right here in my humble little studio. So, yeah, there's a lot going on there. So this things that I'm working on right now are reflective of my style. A style which has kind of come into orbit around neoclassical, which has always been kind of my calling card, I guess you could say, stylistically, but also minimalism, electronica, and real orchestration, virtual orchestration, a lot of different things. I've always been a melody lover, and this particular track that I'm working on right now, it is a I don't want to say a throwback, but there was a piece called Adagio, written hundreds of years ago by Albinoni, and you'll hear this piece remade different ways by various virtuoso performers. This one in particular is really special. This is a cello version of this piece, and I'm just going to play a bit of it for you. Okay. So it's a very well-known classical piece, but so embarking on something like this comes with its own set of unique challenges to this. Of course, I'm not sitting here playing a cello. I'm charging myself with wanting to cultivate, nurture the essence of tension and release that is inside of there. That is a song, that piece of music that is incredibly rich in tension and release. So I thought to myself, well, being that I'm doing this new style of mine, I want to be able to capture some of the tension and release, and I want to do this with a little bit of a futuristic element to it, a modern approach, using synthesizers and virtual orchestration and whatever prowess I can muster to do that. Now, this thing I'm about to play is just a very, very, very loose splurge, and you can see the yellow, pink, and red track here are the only tracks in this. And I'm keeping this simple for a reason right now. I'm not going to add random things to it. Well, in its essence, right now, that's where everything's kind of sitting. So tonight, in my continuation of the creative process and using the wonders of a system that I've discovered and been studying called the Automatic Music Machine, which is taught over at makemusicyourlife.com by a wonderful coach who helps all kinds of artists with their creative process. I'm going to come up with a checklist of my basically items that I'm going to do next on this track. Okay. So before I dive right into that, I want to say that preliminary work has already happened on this track, and in an earlier video, I actually went through this method here. This is the way that the life of this music shows me its DNA. It shows me its DNA and its growth potential, and at least gives me glimpses of what it might be. And in so delving into this and richly, enjoying the exploration of what the life of a piece of music is, these are the things that I've uncovered thus far. And basically, to boil it all down for you, the purpose of this track is to be a vehicle of delivery for my interpretation of neoclassical music, my sound, my style of this music, within the breadth of this delivery. Now that delivery is going to change from track to track, from expression to expression, from mood to mood, from figures, from motifs to the way they're built. There's going to be many different things I'm going to share with you over these weeks and months to come. But this one in particular, it leans on classical music phrasing, obviously, based off of the YouTube video I showed you, and in even a more specific way. And it delivers the phrases with modern futuristic influence. I'm kind of moving around on that synth a little bit, getting a little freestyle there on that. And you can come back and watch this part of this video again if you really want to take a closer look at all this stuff. But one of the most important parts about this is I am operating through a lens here. A lens which adjusts the image of the approach I'm going to take on this work based upon a predetermined setting on this lens. And the setting that I am choosing is finishing the music fast. You see, there is a lot of different theories out there rolling around in music production, and there's a lot of people who have a lot of different opinions about the best way to make a piece of music. And the reality of it is there is no best way. There's no wrong way, and there's no right way. There's just ways. And within each glimpse of every artist, you're going to find a picture of their process in mind right now is focused on experimentation. You see, I make observations and I feel things, gut feelings, and I make it. I make a sometimes a hypothesis of, I wonder if this will work. I wonder if that will work. And then I feed back on what I see, what happens throughout the test that I do. And I like where this one's going so far. But I feel that making music faster, not faster as in fast music, the process with which it happens is without a doubt revealing itself to be one of the most key critical assets of quality, I don't want to say quality, of just art. What art is for me right now is not second guessing. It's not redoing, retrying, everything else. And, you're going to find out if you talk to a lot of people, there's a lot of people that feel that way too. The best ideas are the ones that are just, like this one in particular was just born in 15 or 20 minutes worth of work. It's not something I went over and over again. This is a one take, a one shot inspiration. So now I'm going to come up with my checklist, and I'm going to now need to direct listen to this track. This is the thing where I listen to the music very directly involved in the direct experience of right now, what I'm feeling with my body, what I am hearing with my ears. What I'm directing myself away from is random thoughts, movie-esque scenes in my mind, people, places, things I've met. There's a time and a place for that. This is not it. I want to listen to what the music is saying. And I mean that on a very, very clear level. So I'm going to direct listen to this now. I'm going to close my eyes and see if I can hear what this music is saying. Right. Now, in the process of doing that, I'm going to count on that this is working. Okay. In the process of doing that, there's going to be sometimes clinical things that make themselves so invadingly evident that they reach a point where there's something that you have to deal with. At least you should, and when it comes to the process of making music. And right now, since that was a splurge, it was an idea I just went threw down really fast, I'm going to set the headroom protocol. Okay, what is that? That is a name I've come up with for this particular thing that I'll do. And it's a little bit different than gain staging, although gain staging does capture the essence of what's happening right here. So now we get into the more practical matters of applied music, mixing, production, and things like this. At least, again, the way I do it. Please do not think that I'm telling you that it's this way or the highway. Absolutely not. I have just found that through experimentation and many failures, that this is, to me, one of the most single important steps in my process, so much that I should say my practice. I'm trying to get into the habit of using the word practice. In my practice, it is so important that this single thing affects the outcome of everything else through the entire making of the track. So, headroom. Headroom is room to move. It's room to be able to hear voices. You know, if I have to lower the volume of the track to avoid clipping, just to hear what else could be, there was never room there for it in the first place. It feels to me like forcing things to happen, forcing things to get into a place. And creatively, it's like I would be painting myself into a corner if I don't manage headroom. Oftentimes, I talk to people that, you know, tell me where they're at with their productions and stuff, and they're constantly having this fight with headroom, and I totally know how they feel because I used to have this same battle myself all the time. Getting this ship on course, at least, you know, I hate to use the word control, under control. You know, you're setting a stage for the act to really be able to, the actors to really be able to play their parts. The actors aren't going to be distracted here on the stage. They're really going to be able to deliver their lines, not only deliver them, but with that expression like where you say, oh, wow, he nailed it. She nailed it. Setting this this volumetric start. And this isn't so much a relationship thing here now with these instruments. That is a mix pass, okay? When I set the volume protocol, basically it's a nuts and bolts thing where I'm going to go in here and I aim, and this is not anything that I've invented. You'll hear this term used many times, minus 18 dB on the meter there for a roundabout output. Minus 18 is what I'm aiming for on every instrument in the production at this particular spot. Okay. And now there's a lot of different reasons why that is an appropriate thing to do. Some people will argue that it's not. Well, that's because the idea of gain staging has changed over many years. In the analog world, it was, well, let's just say, a different picture than what it is in a 24-bit digital world. Certain plugins versus certain pieces of hardware are fed volume differently. And how a piece of hardware, a compressor, a limiter, even EQ, of course, will react, the circuitry will react differently based upon how the way the input signal is coming in, okay? Track per track per track. So if you wanted to have any hopes of getting a nice reaction from a compressor, you needed to feed that compressor the right input. And there's a lot of plugins that work that way too, because they'll even have a green light on them that will tell you when you're feeding it enough input. Some of them react that way. Not all of them do. So that's one good reason to think about minus 18. Another good reason, and it can be minus 18, it can be minus 22. But anyways, when these tracks sum and they're coming out of the output, you're going to have a nice chunk of headroom in there to be able to work with. And then you do this again when you've added 5, 6, 7 tracks. I get to the point when I'm adding tracks, I automatically am looking for minus 18 coming off of my MIDI instruments right from the start, no matter where I'm at. And then if I have to boost that up based upon where I need it to cut into the mix, that's a little bit different. And also, yeah, one other important thing. I can't believe I almost let this one slip through my fingers. Fader resolution is so very important And I don't know, maybe I could see if I can zoom this in right here. You'll see the numbers on that fader are 0, 3, 6, 9. But as you move down on the fader, that same distance of fader becomes 6, 5, 6 units of gain per just a couple of ticks on this thing. So having this to where all you have to do on a fader is pull this much to get your differences gives you a world of expressivity and volume automation that you otherwise wouldn't have. Otherwise, you would be down here with a fader trying to offset the roll-off of volume you should have started with, and you'll be moving this much, and you'll be changing the decibel level 10 decibels north or south, depending upon the situation. That's no fun. Just one more thing I'll say here, because this is so important, this part of the process. When I was mixing even 10 years ago, my battles for 1 decibel at the top of the scale, everything's all the way up here, and you're fighting for just, 1 decibel, and you're reducing things by a half decibel just because there's no headroom left in a mix, and you're going for that big, thundering, loud mix. Those days, and thank you, God, are gone. They're gone. All of your streaming platforms and everything will basically, when you come through with that ultra loud waveform, they're going to limit you down. They're going to cut you back using a pretty shitty method of doing it that will not sound so great for your tracks, because the volume system now to measure loudness is different than what it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, everything was loud as possible without clipping. You would see tracks that were just this black bar, instead of a waveform. Like, you see this waveform right here. If you could imagine, it was just like just reckless amounts of volume. Now, being somebody who loves symphonic music and loves expressivity, that didn't speak to me. Sure, if I'm out in a club and a DJ's thundering it off at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they're still going to do that, even though this has changed. But I want to be able to go all the way from pianissimo volume, where you've got to lean in and listen, to thunder when I want it. Now, everything in between. So keeping on track with this volume level isn't about being as loud as you can be anymore. It's about being full. It's about perceived volume. Does it sound loud? Does it feel loud? And then after that, it's probably too loud. I'm going to show you a trick before I go into just setting these instruments. And this is a trick I do with Logic. This is the master out right here. And obviously, when you start a project, it's set to 0, 0, 0. No boost, no subtraction. First thing I'm going to do on a project is I'm going to boost that to 6 over. Why would I do that? So basically, all this setting of the stage that I'm going to be doing is already boosted up 6 on the master out. So if I do want to involve a mixing engineer for some particular thing, because I want to try something that I want to use somebody's particular talents for, I go over here and cut this back by 6. And I just gave myself the 6 decibels of headroom on the master out that the mixing engineer is going to want. Because, and that's yet another reason to get the volume straight and keep it under control. You're paying for the first hour, sometimes 2 hours, of an engineer's session to fix your mistakes in volume. Basically, everything that I'm telling you to do right here is what they would kind of want you to do in the first place when you're sending a mix. They don't want to see it loud. They don't want to see, like if we're talking about the level, the main out, they don't want to see that creeping up much further than here. Having that blasting out the door, they might want to see your take on it, but they like to have the room to work, and that will save you $200, maybe $300 in your mixing fees if you can not do that and do it with a way where you are being friendly with volume. I'm going to solo this track up. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to find a happy middle ground between sharing too much information and interpretations of things and not enough. I love the art. I love what I've learned, and I love to share it. So what I'm going to be doing in the future is I'm going to be creating chapters within these videos. So as you come to know how I do things, when you see me going off on a tangent, you can just go down to the chapter and chapter me out to the next chapter to get to the point of what it is you particularly need. Because, hey, I understand not everybody's got time to listen to long-winded things for a short solution that they're wanting to get. All right, so I'm going to take a look at the drum kit track. I'm going to solo it off. And I do have this, I'm going to put my boost on. Keep that up there where I want it. And I'm going to just want to be a little mindful here. I'm going to pull the volume back on my main output of this to the stream so that I'm not killing you with volume. Okay, so anyway, as you can see, we're going ballistic over here. I'm gonna pop just so I can do this quickly and not dig through the MIDI instrument main outs. I'm just gonna pop a gain on here, and I'm gonna drop that back. Start here. See what happens. Not bad. So this is going to change its volume. It's not compressed. It's not anything. So it's going to range. And in looking at the meter, I'm trying to determine where the RMS is of this thing. I'm not looking for just the peak loudest point. That's about right there. Okay? Okay. Yeah. And I'm going to move on to the next one. Let's go down here, and we're going to talk about those drums in a second, because that's just redonky-donk. Trust me. I am not under the mistaken impression that sounds great. Lord have mercy. Okay. Clearly we got some room to come down here. Okay, that's pretty sweet. Guys, this doesn't have to be perfect. This doesn't have to be 18. When I say 18, I mean 16 to 21, okay? Because if you get into chasing the needle, you're just going to make yourself crazy. Don't do that. Trust me, just doing this like this among these will make so much difference for you. Let's take a look here. There's better meters than you can use to do this too, by the way. These meters aren't really top notch for, I mean, they're good. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with them. So there's some that are easier to just blaze through really fast, okay? So already right there, I've done a basic rollover through here, but I'm something else here. Let me just let this play through for a sec. mystifying me here. I can't find, and that's another thing I'm going to talk about is track organization. For all of my tracks, this is remember, this is just a random splurge that I did. I didn't do much in the ways of organization, so I'm going to talk about that too. So let's roll over now to a checklist of things that I'm going to do for this track. Okay, so I just set the headroom protocol, and there's a synth left to do. I'm going to go back and do that real quick after we're done here. But I just want to get into, because this is taking a little bit longer today than I thought, because this is such a weighty subject. I want to kind of move through. Now, based off the direct listening that I did, I'm going to parse out the checklist items that I feel are of heavy importance to accomplishing this particular thing that I'm going for here. What are the things that I can do that are illuminating the runway for this takeoff? We're at the takeoff of this track, so we want a nice illuminated runway and a heading, a direction to take off into so that we reach a destination. So the air traffic controller is going to kind of come through and say, okay, set the headroom protocol. Roger, headroom protocol set. And then clean up the drum line. Okay. This right here was a quick, that is trap, is what that is. Okay. There's better trap. There's worse trap. It's trap. Now I think trap is cool. Okay. And I think the thought was, when I started this, to create drums that were really out there, to really kind of reach as far down the pike towards, the fusion of future and past. So I'm reaching hard. Good chance here I might have reached a little bit too far. So I'm going to start an experiment easing the complexity. Get rid, my typos are really on fire today. Get rid of the hi-hats first. But based off the observation I had, the hypothesis is that a simple drum and snare line with a vivid, syncopated will be the one. A good one. There is no thing as such as the one. That's a rabbit hole way of thinking that leads to a whole hell of a lot of problems. And the way I would go about doing this is I'm going to go, and this is another thing, and this is another big part of my process right now, is that I'm trying to implementing a lot of different equipment, and it's kind of like this right now. It's kind of the clarity between all these new systems that I'm using is kind of making me crazy. So part of my process is discovery of new sounds and discovery of things. And I'm doing a lot of finger drumming now, and I'm going to use Machine on this by Native Instruments, and I'm going to use one of the kits that is available there. And I'll be doing this online, so you can watch me get crazy with it when I'm doing it. So, and then that I think is going to be that. I'm trying to think here. Now I need to. I've done so much talking. My direct listening session was about 20 minutes ago at least, so I'm just trying to run. Just give me a moment while I concentrate. Thinking about the main synth line. There's something I want to try really bad because my curiosity's going wild, and this is kind of like the violation of the lens. So I got to think about this. The lens being getting tracks done quickly. This is a tough decision because I have a new device I want to try on this track. For the synth line. I'm going to keep the synth line I have. To say that took an effort right there is like pulling a molar out right now with a very mean thing. Anyway, I know my coach would be so proud of me right now if he heard me say this. I'm going to keep the synth line I have because it is working and it sounds good and it fits. It stays within the lens of finishing quickly. And let's be quite quantitative about this. Every minute I would spend noodling around with this new piece of gear, which I'm going to do a special on. It's really cool. It's an enhancer ring. It is a MIDI CC controller that you wear on a finger. And every minute that I would spend joyously, exuberantly messing around with this on this track would be another note of music that would move me towards a release. And I have to choose these things a little bit more carefully because this has been a problem in the past. So, okay, I'm just going to leave that notation in there. However, once the drum track is found, I am going to want to move on with a drafting session. And I'm going to want to keep writing in the melody, style, and flavor of what is already there, both harmonically, rhythmically, and expressive. I'm not going to worry about that typo. Expressively, okay, with a glance at the original on YouTube that I showed you. Okay? I mean, after all, I am sourcing this energy from that composition. Okay? So this would mean we're supposed to be very specific, and I'm about to say pizzicato, specific pizzicato. Say that 3 times fast. Starting with pizzas and echoing exhale. There's an exhale happening in there. It's going like that. Keep that going and use the synth. And I want to bring in strings here. Very, very expressive strings. These might be LASS Sordino with the addition of Cinestrings solo over top. All right, that's going to wrap it for this session. Now, of course, somebody might ask, well, geez, man, you spend a lot of time planning, don't you? Doesn't that kind of, how does that fit your lens, Jace? How does that work? Well, the planning is what changes things from this to this, okay? Music is really about a series of decisions that I make. Decisions. The speed with which I make them and accuracy with which they're made fits the lens of wanting to finish music fast. And that is what is important to me right now. And please don't make the mistake of thinking that I'm choosing speed versus quality. That quality is, should not be rendered by any speed other than the one that is necessary for its natural evolution and fruition. Okay, no. My hypothesis, based upon observations, is that there's a theory coming towards me that says faster making equals better quality. Hey, Mozart wrote a symphony overnight. I'm not trying to be Mozart. I'm just trying to be Jace, but maybe I can borrow just one page out of a chapter of his book and it will help me. All right, well, that's it for this one. It's been fun. And stick around. There's going to be more sessions coming your way.